Let's dive straight into a core concept that has been around for centuries but is incredibly relevant today: the way of virtue. It's about making choices that matter, not just for now, but for your whole life. So, what's the big idea? It boils down to this stark contrast. Those who dwell in moral steadfastness endure a moment of solitude. Those who cling to power suffer eternal desolation. Think about it. Sticking to your principles, doing what you know is right, even when it's tough, might feel lonely for a bit. But chasing power, fame, and status? That path can lead to a deep, lasting emptiness, even if you look like you've got everything. It's like choosing between a quiet, fulfilling life and a loud, empty one. The key is understanding that true fulfillment isn't found in the spotlight or the perks, it's found in integrity and inner peace. Now, let's get a bit historical and look at some ancient wisdom. Confucianism, a cornerstone of Eastern thought, really emphasizes this idea of moral steadfastness. Confucius himself said, "A noble person remains steadfast in poverty, a petty person in poverty descends into wrongdoing." Imagine being broke, struggling to make ends meet. A petty person might cut corners, cheat, or do anything unethical to get ahead. But a noble person, someone grounded in virtue, keeps their integrity intact. They don't compromise their values just because things are tough. This is the essence of dwelling in moral steadfastness. It's about having that inner compass that guides you, no matter the external pressures. It's about building character that lasts. Building on that, Mencius, another giant in Confucian thought, takes it a step further. He says, "Preserve one's heart and nurture one's nature, this is how one serves heaven." Now, serving heaven sounds grand, but what does it mean practically? It means focusing on cultivating your inner goodness, your moral compass, your authentic self. Mencius is saying, don't just focus on what you can gain right now, whether it's money, fame, or comfort. Instead, focus on nurturing your inner nature, your inherent goodness. This long-term investment in yourself, this cultivation of your inner world, is what truly matters. It's about building a life from the inside out, rather than chasing external validation. It's about being true to yourself, fundamentally. Okay, let's switch gears slightly and look at Taoism, which offers a different perspective but still very relevant. Laozi, the founder of Taoism, famously warned, "The greatest treasures of the world must not be grasped. To hold them invites disaster." Think about it: power, wealth, fame. These are often seen as the ultimate goals. But Laozi is saying, whoa, hold on. Trying to grab onto these things, especially forcefully, actually brings disaster. Why? Because the world operates on its own natural flow, its own Tao. You can't just force things to bend to your will. Trying to control everything, to hoard power, disrupts that natural balance and ultimately leads to negative consequences. It's like trying to dam a river. You might get some temporary control, but eventually the water will find a way, and it might flood back with more force. True wisdom lies in understanding and flowing with the natural order, not fighting against it. And then there's Zhuangzi, often called the Taoist philosopher of paradoxes. He says, "The perfect man has no self, the divine man has no achievements, the sage has no name." This is profound. What does it mean? It means that the truly wise, the truly enlightened people, don't get hung up on things like personal achievement, recognition, or even having a fixed sense of self. They transcend these external markers. Why? Because they understand that true fulfillment comes from within, not from what others think of them or what accolades they receive. They've achieved a state of selflessness, where they're not defined by their accomplishments or their reputation. It's about detaching from the need for external validation and finding peace in simply being. It's about recognizing that chasing after fame and success is ultimately a distraction from the deeper, more meaningful aspects of life. Alright, let's bring this into the modern day and look at how psychology backs up these ancient ideas. The concept of enduring a moment of solitude fits perfectly into the psychological model of long-termism. Long-termism is all about making decisions based on their long-term consequences, even if it means sacrificing something short-term. Think about it. Choosing to study hard for an exam instead of partying, or exercising regularly even when you don't feel like it, or speaking up for what you believe is right even when it's uncomfortable. These are all examples of short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. In the context of virtue, enduring solitude, that temporary loneliness or isolation that comes from sticking to your principles, is the short-term cost. But the long-term gain? Lasting spiritual fulfillment, personal growth, and a stronger sense of self. It's about looking beyond the immediate gratification and considering the bigger picture, the future you want to build. Now, let's talk about the flip side. Those who cling to power shall endure eternal desolation. From a psychological perspective, this resonates deeply with the concept of the vanity trap. Ever heard of it? It's basically the idea that constantly chasing external validation, like fame, fortune, and social status, creates a dependency. Your happiness becomes tied to what other people think of you, and since those things are inherently unstable and fleeting, you end up feeling empty inside. It's like constantly needing applause after every joke. You might laugh harder, but eventually, you realize you're not laughing for yourself anymore. The vanity trap is this cycle where you chase external approval, get a temporary boost, but then feel even emptier because your self-worth is now dependent on that external validation. Ultimately, it leads to prolonged loneliness and dissatisfaction, precisely because you're chasing shadows, not substance. True happiness comes from within, not from the applause of others. So, let's wrap this up. Chapter 1 really boils down to two fundamental paths in life. Path number 1, transient solitude. This is the path of virtue. It might involve temporary loneliness, maybe feeling misunderstood or isolated because you're sticking to your principles when everyone else is cutting corners. But this path leads to inner peace, genuine happiness, and a life of meaning. Path number 2, eternal desolation. This is the path of chasing power and status. It might look dazzling on the surface, full of glitter and glamour, but underneath, it's often a deep well of emptiness and lasting suffering. Why? Because your happiness is built on shaky ground, dependent on things you can't control and that ultimately fade away. This chapter, as the opening of the way of virtue, gives us profound guidance for navigating today's world, with all its moral dilemmas, temptations, and inner struggles. It's a call to choose wisely. Ultimately, the way of virtue is about seeking truth, goodness, and beauty, not just in the world around us, but within ourselves. This ancient wisdom is incredibly relevant for navigating the challenges of modern life. So, the takeaway is clear: choose virtue, embrace the occasional solitude that comes with it, and you'll find a much more fulfilling and lasting kind of happiness. Thanks.